Yeah, thank you everyone for being here and for sharing the space and kicking off this fall series together. I feel like I was just here for the spring series because the summer kind of flew by, but I'm happy to be transitioning seasons with you all. And I see some familiar names and faces. And if this is our first time practicing together, welcome. I know that hopefully it says in the description somewhere that all practice levels are welcome. So whether this is your first time practicing meditation or you're kind of dipping back in after taking a break for a while, or you're a seasoned meditator, I hope that some of the practices and skills that we learn or refresh together will support you in more fully engaging with your life and relating with kindness to yourself and others. That's certainly my intention for what we kind of explore in this series together. So each session we will do a short introduction. I might talk about the practice that we're going to do. We'll practice, and then we'll have a few minutes of time for reflections or questions at the end. A few important things before we start, and I'll try to remind everyone of this kind of subtly throughout the practice as well. You always have choice. So this is your space. You have a choice as to how you engage with it. I'm certainly guiding a practice, but if something doesn't feel right for you, or you feel you want to pull back, whether it's just coming back to sensation of the space around you or your body or your breath, you're always welcome to take a step back. You can have eyes open or eyes closed. I typically close my eyes. So if you're looking at the screen, I'll have my eyes closed, but you can have your eyes open or closed and switch in between. It's really up to you and however you feel comfortable and really safe and connected in your practice. That's how I want you to be. That includes posture. So we want to practice ease and comfort in our posture. If that means being seated for you, then by all means remain seated. If it means that you need to lie down or recline in some way, or even stand up so that you're kind of feeling your feet on the earth or on the floor. And yeah, that can be helpful if you feel like you have a little too much kind of agitation or energy to sit or lie down. So it's what's comfortable for you. And I also invite you to take a posture where you feel like you have some agency in how you're posturing yourself, not just physically, but energetically, like a posture that says, okay, I'm here. We're going to engage in something different than we're used to, minute to minute in daily life, and we're going to practice. So, however that feels for you, you're welcome to explore. And of course, if you have questions about that, you can ask me at the end of class, at the end of practice. Most of the practices we'll be doing are centered in mindfulness or compassion, or often both. The two really are, we could say, um, two wings of the same bird. So we need both, I think, in our practice on the cushion, so to speak, but also in daily life. So these are the two sort of realms we're going to be in. And when I draw from a practice that was really kind of established by another teacher, I will name that teacher so that you have the opportunity to research it more, go to their website, find other recordings, etc. I want to make this as accessible as possible. Sometimes meditation practice is about just removing the barriers to access, because even just coming together, coming to this session, to this program, sitting down or lying down or being here for a practice, that's an effort. That's an effort. So whatever you can do to make it more easeful for you to transition into this space, I encourage you to do so. Really center your comfort. Okay. So a lot of words, and we'll take a minute here then to, yeah, transition into our practice today, which is just going to be a really foundational mindfulness practice. We're going to be practicing mindfulness of our breathing body, I call it. So, mindfulness of breathing and mindfulness of sensation in our bodies. And this is just a way to practice really training our attention. So, allowing our attention to rest in the present moment. One of the reasons that a lot of mindfulness practice is centered on the breath is because the breath is always in the present moment, right? It's always here, it's always with us, it's always embodied, and it's always changing and moving. There's a fluidity to it. So it's something that is not static to engage with, it's kind of active. And that's why typically a lot of mindfulness practices may start with the breath. So we're going to start here with body and breath. And I will get us going. We'll start and end the actual session, the practice, with a bell. So go ahead and listen for that. And yeah, make yourselves comfortable. Here we go. So hopefully you heard the sound of that bell. And if not, just allow yourself to, settle into your body, settle into your space. If that means letting the eyes rest closed, you might let the eyelids just soften over the eyeballs. If not, just allowing a soft gaze to rest on a space a little bit in front of you, maybe on the floor, not gazing at anything in particular, but just allowing your eyes to rest, either open or closed. And from here, just starting to notice where you feel your body in space. So you might notice the contact points between yourself and the surface beneath you. If your back is resting on something, you might feel the back side of the body as well, the surface that's supporting you from behind. Just sensing that the earth itself is kind of rising up to meet you, to support you, that you can really rest the weight of your body into this space. You can even rest the weight of your mind, whatever might be on your mind or your heart, into this space. Just allowing the earth beneath you, the surface beneath you, to support it, to kind of hold it. You might notice now, continuing to kind of sense the space around you, the temperature of the air on your skin. Maybe there's a coolness where the air touches the skin, or a warmth from a blanket or clothing on the skin. Just kind of noticing the surface of your body. If there are sounds in your soundscape, allowing them to be just as they are. So passing through your awareness as they want or need to be. And then you continuing to just rest your attention on your physical body. On your physical body. And if it feels okay for you to do so, allowing yourself to now kind of notice your breath. So without needing to change or shift anything, there's no need to perform in this moment. Just starting to notice the breathing of your body, that rising inhale, And the falling away exhale. Tracking each inhale and each exhale as you breathe, most likely through the nose, but if that's not okay for you, just breathing as you need to. Again, inviting a sense of ease, kind of centering your comfort. If the mind feels a little bit agitated or kind of jumpy, because we're inviting it now to kind of rest as a single pointed focus on the breath, you can acknowledge that and just continue to keep inviting your awareness to rest on the breath itself. Sensation of breathing, the rhythm of the breath. And then coming in a little bit closer now, kind of homing in on sensation itself. Just let yourself notice where you sense, where you actually feel the breath the most. So this is typically on an inhale. It might be at the tip of the nostrils, the nose, or like a coolness inside the nostrils or the back of the throat. It might be the sensation itself of that internal expansion of the chest or belly on the in breath, or that falling away on the out breath. Just giving our minds something a bit more specific to focus in on. And you might also notice as I ask and invite this focus, does that cause any tension? Like, have you started to lean forward at all in your torso if you're seated? Or kind of feel a hunch at the shoulders or a furrow at the brow? And if so, just allowing that to be as it is and maybe kind of relaxing any tension that's built up. But again, coming back to that resting your focus on sensation of the breath, wherever you feel it the most. Resting your attention here on your breathing body, the organic, spontaneous breath. And you might find that sometimes your attention wanders, like there might be thoughts coming across your mind through your awareness, to-do lists, things that have happened today already, future planning, etc. This is a very typical thing for the mind to do. So, like, without any shame or blame, just recognizing that you have a human mind and it likes to kind of jump around and wander to things. Just gently, kindly, each time it wanders, invite it back to your point of focus, sensation of the breath, being in your breathing body. Knowing that investing your attention in the present moment, just as you are and just as it is, it creates a more solid foundation for a beautiful future to unfold. So continuing to just gently, kindly bring your awareness back to sensation of your breathing body anytime it wanders. And each time you do that, each time you notice, like, oh, aha, I jumped on a thought, or there's thinking about that, or feeling about this other thing. Each time you notice, it's like a little light kind of goes on, that light of awareness. And then you have this choice to bring your attention back to the present, back to your breathing body. And each time you do that, you notice and bring it back. It's like doing a push up of sorts for the mind. So you're training it, you're making it stronger. You're exercising choice over where you place your attention. And as we prepare to kind of wrap up here a bit, I invite you to just notice too what it feels like to be with yourself in this moment, to take this pause to rest your attention in your direct kind of physical experience, just as you are. Noticing any tendency to rush as if there's some end point we need to get to. If there's any sort of agitation in the mind, like how much longer, or am I doing it right? And in these last couple of kind of minutes here, if you'd like, you might invite an even softer, gentler quality to your awareness. So as you continue to like rest your awareness on your breathing body, on sensation of breath, what might it be like to allow the quality of it to be like feather light? So it's not a contracted focus. It's not something that's holding on, gripping tightly, but a bit more spacious, a bit more easeful. This quality of feather light awareness, a bit of lightness, even in the heart, in your practice. Noticing how that kind of opens the space to allow for more fluidity, a bit more sense of freedom in your practice, a bit more flexibility in your mind to notice when it's wandering and then just bringing it back, like with lightness. How does your body respond to that? Is there a bit less tension in the jaw, in the furrow of your brow? And from here, we'll prepare to bring our practice to a close. So I invite you to take a moment to just come back to awareness of, like, a global awareness of the whole of your body, sensation of air on the skin or clothes on the skin, noticing where the supports are beneath you or behind you. If sounds are in your soundscape, kind of being aware of those again, just zooming out your awareness to the whole of your body and the whole of the space that your body is resting in right now. And then taking one last moment, if you'd like, if it feels good for you, to just rejoice in having completed this practice, having showed up to the space today, sharing it with everyone in our room. Just sensing, noticing that connectedness between all of us in our shared practice and our shared space. And then as you feel ready and as you hear the sound of the bell, just allowing yourself to come back to our shared space for questions and reflections, but taking your time, being gentle with yourself. So taking your time to come back. And coming back doesn't have to mean turning your video on or anything, but yeah, just allow your body to move and stretch. If it needs to, get a sip of water, coffee, tea. So in this practice, I mean, we did one practice, kind of the umbrella of awareness of breathing body. That's what I would call it. But you might notice that we actually shifted our awareness to lots of different things. We started with the context of the space. I gave you options. So noticing the soundscape, noticing the sensation of, air on the skin, temperature, the feeling of the surface beneath you, behind you, supporting you. And then we moved to sensation of the breath. So I would invite you to, after this, if you want to kind of write down the progression of what we did, just to kind of itemize almost the separate parts of the practice, because each of those parts you can take into formal practice like we did here today, or just into daily life, even if you're in your car or waiting at the bus stop or on a walk. noticing a soundscape like the birds or noticing cars passing, that can be a practice of mindfulness, even just a couple of minutes. Temperature of the air on your skin, this can be a practice. And then more formally, you can go in and, yeah, rest with your breath, rest with either the sensation of it or just allowing the rhythm of the breath to kind of be the waves upon which your mind, which I would see as a boat, can just kind of rest in a moment. And in terms of practice, smaller bits of practice more consistently is better for a more like stable, transformed state, in our energy, in our minds, and also in our brains, if we're talking neuroplasticity. So even just 5 minutes a day, or if every day feels like too much of a commitment, and be really honest with yourself here because we want to build a feeling of success and accomplishing goals. Maybe you commit yourself to doing 5 or 10 minutes 3 days a week, you know? Yeah, give yourself something easy to work towards if you want to establish more consistency and see how that goes. But start the bar low. It's okay. We have time. We have time together. Yeah, and the yawning after a practice like this is pretty typical. We're giving our bodies and minds a space to just rest down, which doesn't often happen in a focused way. So if there's some tiredness afterward, that's okay. You can take some deeper breaths to come out of it to re-energize, like stretch, move a bit if that's available for you, and then kind of move on in your day because there can be, I think, sometimes a bit of tiredness that comes, especially if our bodies or minds were really wanting to rest. But that's okay. You can shift out of it.